was headed way out west to get ourselves some of the best greenery that any man could know. Would rendezvous in San Pedro, load up the wagon, where we go to make a killing on the eastern coast.
All right, this is Tim Jackson. I have with me musician Kelley Swindall, and we're going to jump right into something. The name of this show is Freedom Sings, Musicians Talk Activism and Social Change. And I initially didn't put politics into the description for a reason, and I know a lot of musicians kind of stay away from politics. But Kelley, I wanted to talk to you about your experience and kind of growing up. Your father, Pat Swindall, was a congressman, and in some ways kind of laid that template of how a conservative politician can bring in the evangelical supporters and win. And he did so in Georgia. So just give me a little bit right off the bat of sort of growing up in that family as part of a politician's daughter.
Totally. So he was sworn in the day before I was born. He was sworn in on January 3rd, 1985. I was born January 4th, 1985. So I literally was born into that. Okay. Right. So that being said, growing up, I was so young when everything was really going on, but obviously it impacted my life greatly. And as you had kind of mentioned, as a lot of y'all probably know, or maybe you don't know, the South was largely Democrats for a very, very long time. It wasn't until that the early 80s, and then, you have Reagan in the White House, that the tides turned. And my father he has passed away since, he was definitely like a pioneer of that movement in terms of the South being Republican and evangelical. Now that's all you think about. Oh, you think of red states, that's what you think about. That was not how it was in the 70s and the early 80s. And it was a huge upset that he had. So how was it growing up? Well, I will say, so when in 88, he was the subject of a sting operation and a big old scandal. And I can get into that on a separate thing, or we could go into it more, but let's just say that obviously impacted my life because, he lost his reelection campaign. His name was definitely very much smeared. In the evangelical community, he was still, he was still very much a part of it. Growing up, he was always speaking at, in church and leading Bible study, and, and everyone, very much supported him. His supporters still supported him, So I was very much raised in a very evangelical, conservative bubble in the 90s. And so I was, like I said, I was born in 85. So I really, came of age in the 90s. And, I always, voted Republican for sure down the line. And, I was raised a Bible-fearing Christian, this is the way it is. And we vote for these issues and that's it, kind of like single issue voters, if you will. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until, let's see, I moved, I went to a Christian school, everything. Again, like I said, I've very much lived inside of this little bubble. And it wasn't until I moved to New York City, I'm trying to think how old I was. I was 21. Mm-hmm. And that's when I just started being exposed to people that were different than I was, being exposed to the arts, being exposed to just a different mindset, different everything, right. And I will say, again, like I said, I'm trying to make it all very short. I will definitely say that I think I was I feel like I was always an artist. So I always had kind of a bit more of an open mind growing up. You know what I mean? I would be raising my hand in Bible class like, oh, well, it says this here, but then it says this here. And I don't really, how can you, well, that, some things, you just have to have faith with this issue, even though it's definitely not, it doesn't make sense. Right. You know what I mean? And I have always, I'm still, I would say, I'm a Christian 100% in the sense that Jesus Christ, like in the sense of like the man, how he lived and all these things. And I feel like the way I was raised and this, the ideas are not necessarily a lot of times in line with what Jesus taught. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I feel, and I've found that, being in the arts, I feel like now I'm in a position to write about these type of things. I wouldn't necessarily say that this particular album's about that, but I've been, especially now with everything that's going on politically and socially, I've really been feeling a responsibility to, sing about a different perspective, if you will, than how I was raised.
Right.
I think I kind of went off on a rabbit trail there. Sorry.
No.
There's so much to cover. I'm not really sure. There's so much to cover there. I mean, my Lord, I feel like I could write a book that big about growing up in the place I did at the time I did, with the way my dad was, So I did. My whole life, I don't know. Ever since I was little, I would put on shows for my family. Some kids do that, some kids don't. All my brothers and sisters would be in it. I'd get my cousins to be in it. I had a huge family. We'd always be putting on shows. So I was like, I'm going to be an actress. That's what I wanted to do. So I went to the University of Miami first, actually. I went to a proper university for a year and a half. I was studying theater there, and I was like, what am I doing down here? I want to be, I'm just going to move to New York. I'm going to drop out. I'm going to move to New York City. That's where acting is. I mean, that's the theater. So I moved up there and I finished out at another acting school. So I started doing some plays, like small off Broadway plays, eventually off Broadway plays. And I will be honest, the thing about being an actor is you need to have a show to be in. You need to have a script. Unless you're writing it yourself, you need, you're very reliant on other people giving you material, right? So as a soul who very much likes to express themselves and be active and performative, I found music I was dating a musician at one point, and we broke up, and I was, really upset about it. And it's true, literally out of the blue, I woke up, very soon after that, I woke up one morning and I was like, you know what? I want to express all this in a song. I feel like writing this guy a song. I didn't know how to write a song. I didn't know how to do that. But my brother is quite musical. We were roommates in New York. He was living with me at the time. He had a guitar. So I got the guitar, and I had known a couple chords from youth group and stuff, like back in the day. And I looked it up online, because the internet, if I didn't have the internet, I wouldn't have ever learned guitar. So I looked up some chords online, very basic, a G, a C, and a D. That's all you need. Mm-hmm. 3 chords, truth, 1, 4, 5. And I spent 8 hours writing that song. I remember that. I just sat there and I wrote the song, and I was like, that felt awesome. That felt great. I got my emotions out. I kind of made some sense of what was going on in my head with all this, how I was feeling. And I was like, I'm going to keep writing more songs, and I'm going to get really good. And he's going to regret ever, breaking up with me. And basically that was the motivation. And of course, not long after that, I got over it. I didn't care about that anymore, but I had found this new love and passion from that. So I'm super grateful for that. And I just started going to open mics, and I realized doing this, I was like, hey, this is like acting. This is totally, I'm getting to tell stories. I'm getting to connect with an audience, because I was into live theater, and it was the same thing to me. And so, but here I was, now I'm able to do it when I want, where I want. For the most part, they'll book me, but you know what I mean? It wasn't dependent on someone giving me a job and showing, so that's how that started. And this was when I was 23, almost 24. It was right when Lehman Brothers was closing, and I remember it was that same month. So that's what happened here in New York. And once I started playing and singing, I just started going full throttle, 4 force ahead. Where can I play? How often? As much as I can, write as many songs as I can, and that is the long short of it.
Right.
That's how that happened. That's how I ended up here.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And so you evolved into a singer-songwriter. Obviously, your debut album, like I said, coming out September 18th. And it is quite the album, I have to say. As soon as I've been listening to it for a couple of weeks now, I guess. And the third track on the song on the album is called California. And when I heard that, I was like, I really need to get Kelley on this show, because there's a lot to unpack in that song.
A lot in that one, right?
A lot. So, and that is it's a single, and the video is out now. And it's a fantastic video, and you play several roles in the video. So just tell us a little bit about that song and the video for California.
Cool. So that song, the irony, or maybe not the irony, but that song, most of my songs are one from real life experience. Like, I mean, I'm telling stories from my life. That was one that I just completely made it up. Like, that did not happen. I hate to ruin everyone's lives. Maybe I should say it happened, but it didn't. I made it up. I was at my mom's house one day, and it's funny that I think about a lot of these motivations for songs had something to do with love. And I had just started, I was with another guy or starting to see another guy, and I wanted to impress him. He was a storyteller. He was a playwright. And I remember thinking, and he was in this, the type of music he was into. I was like, I'm going to write a really cool song and be like, hey, look at this song I just wrote, kind of impress him. So I did. And that's really where it came from. It just came. It was one of those songs. So for those of you all who don't know, it's a song about two female drug runners. They're heading from the East Coast to California to buy a bunch of marijuana, bring it back to the East Coast, and sell it for a profit. That's how the song started. And I just, again, a lot of times it'll take me a long time to write a song. 90% of the time, it doesn't just happen in one sitting. That was one of those songs that happened in one sitting. Like, it just came out. And yeah, I'm a big Johnny Cash fan, so I will 100% say that, the way his storytelling and the way he sings and delivers his songs, that 100% was for sure an inspiration. It kind of reminds me a little of like A Boy Named Sue or something, the way it's delivered. And yeah, I just wanted to write a song about like a tough, badass chick, that these women that are, a lot of times they're in country music, especially, or some country music, women are very docile or sweet or, standing by their man, which is nothing wrong with that. But I just wanted, some tough chicks, and that's where and just a fun song. I just want to write a fun, lighthearted song, and I think we achieved that. Kind of and shake it up a little bit, just kind of ruffle some feathers, if you will.
And like I said, that's the third song on the album. It's got 12 tracks overall. It comes out in September, and we would certainly, and we'll link to all of the appropriate things with your website and how to buy the album and all of that. So we certainly want people to take a listen and get used to your music. And so hopefully you'll be a household name before too long. But Kelley, we also wanted to talk a little bit about, because we do talk a little bit about, kind of activism or sort of social change and things that are important to people. And I know that a cause that is important to you, as we said, is more LA based, but the Art of Elysium, which is, it was founded back in 1997, and it works with artists like yourself to kind of work with people, like volunteer artists, to craft creative, tailor-made programs for the populations they serve. And those populations include people that are in the midst of emotional life challenges, such as illness, hospitalization, displacement, confinement, or crisis. And so just tell us a little bit about that organization and kind of how you got involved with them.
Sure, totally. So just as you said, it's using art to support people through hard times in their lives, which is, like I kind of touched on. The reason I turned to songwriting was it was out of an emotional necessity to kind of work through some shit, to figure out how I was feeling, to lighten my mood, like all these things. And I do think a lot of times I'll talk to people and they'll be like, oh, well, I'm not creative like you, or I'm not like an artist like that. And I don't believe that's true. I do think every single person has a soul, a creative soul, and that spark of the divine in them. And they have, in their own way, they can be creative. And that's kind of what this is. So basically it partners with all sorts of the foundation, with all sorts of artists, myself included. Right. And so what I have been tasked with doing, and which I'm completing, which will be done soon, is I'm making a tutorial on writing a classic country song. And this will be available to whoever needs to access this. Like, so someone who, it's such great therapy you know, creating something from nothing, you know, tapping into, again, like I said, I think art comes from the soul. It's not from your head, even though, you know, of course your head gets involved, but it's from your heart, it's from your soul. And it's very therapeutic. So I'm creating some content that will then go up online on EB Studios, which is where they have all these various artists doing various tutorials that are able to be accessed by the children or adults that are, you know, in the hospital or homeless or displaced or whatever the situation, just someone who's looking for a way to feed their soul and not just consume, but then create. And I think it's not just, I think it can be for anyone, you know, all people should have some kind of creative outlet. I think it's so good. And it saved my life for sure, like my sanity. And I'm so grateful that I found a way to, you know, several years ago, learn how to write songs. And so this is my one way I can contribute, if you will, instead of just creating content to consume, creating content to instruct and to help people that might want to learn how to write a country song, because that's how I can contribute, you know?
Yeah. And just kind of talking a little bit about that population that they do serve, you know, when you talk about individuals in the midst of difficult emotional life challenges, it seems like at this particular point in our history, there are a lot of difficult emotional life challenges. So has the organization seen an uptick of people that it's trying to serve? Have you noticed that at all, or have the numbers kind of remained consistent through this?
You know what? I will be honest. I would say yes, but I can't, I don't actually have numbers, so I can't tell you if that's for certain, but I definitely think so. Yes. Because I mean, we do have, yeah, I mean, in terms of displacement, job loss, homelessness, hospitalizations, all these things. I mean, there's definitely much more of a need now. And I think also in terms of expanding beyond just that, I mean, just for any individual who is looking for a way to, kind of escape from what's going on, but a way to channel that anxiety. I believe it is accessible to all EB studios actually at this point. So that a normal person, if you will, can access it, that is going through a hard time. And I do think that it's gone up with what's happening for sure. And I think it will only continue to go up, unfortunately, because it's not our society's, it's not getting better anytime soon. I don't think.
Yeah, I think you're exactly correct about that. We've got some challenges ahead of us as a society and culture. So we certainly appreciate what you're doing with the Art of Elysium. And I will certainly link to the organization, theartofelysium.org, but I will link to that below and make sure that people know how to get in touch with that group. And before we go, we certainly want you to play a song for us before we go. But I guess a final question, the album's set to come out September 18th.
That's right.
As we were just saying, who knows where things are going to be at that time. So kind of what are your plans to release the album, especially if there's no touring and you're not able to be on the road?
Right. Well, funny you should ask, because my original release date was actually in June. And at some point, because, you know, in New York City, we started reacting to this way earlier than everyone else because there was an issue. So by April, I was like, and I was already canceling my May tour, you know, it was like, I'm going to push this album because I hate to not be able to tour with it, yada, yada, yada. So we pushed it to September. But at this point, again, it looks like I'm not going to be able to, but at this point, it's like, I just want to get this out there. I've adapted to this new world of live streams and virtual things. You know, I've already resigned myself to the fact that it's not going to be a traditional release by any means, and that's okay. Because it's not just me, it's everybody, you know. We're all, so I think it's important to get the music out there, give people something to escape with or consume, or let that help them emotionally, or whatever it is. You know, I want to get it out there. I'm excited about that. And then I'm just going to plug the hell out of it and do as many, you know, lots of live streams, just online virtual ways to connect with anyone and everyone that's into the album and into the songs. And, you know, whether it's my bathroom ballads, I don't know if you know about these, but I do these things called bathroom ballads. The last couple of weeks I didn't, because I was down south with my mom, but I stream it from my bathroom here in New York City, and I stick with the ballad tradition, kind of talk about the history of various ballads and the evolution, and I've had a great time with that. So more live streams, more virtual stuff, and I don't think there'll really be tours until 2021 for sure, unfortunately. So it is what it is.
Right. Well, we definitely want to give you a chance to play something for us now. So I think you're planning to play the title track for the album.
Yes, sir, I am. Yes, this is You Can Call Me Darlin' If You Want. That David Allan Coe song, it was actually written by Steve Goodman and John Prine, which I love. Right. John Prine actually for years didn't even want his name on it, which I thought was just funny and ridiculous, like whatever. But David Allan Coe made it quite famous. And my dad loved this song when I was growing up. He would play it all the time. So it was always stuck in my head. So this is kind of the hook is very much like an answer to, so in the David Allan Coe song, it's You Don't Have to Call Me Darlin', Darlin'. Right. So in my song, it's You Can Call Me Darlin' If You Want. It's kind of a little play on that, nod to that. Right. And just about a rambling woman figuring out life and love as it comes and goes without worrying about being judged by anybody. Very much like the rambling man, but the rambling woman. So that's kind of the background behind this song. And this is the original acoustic version. You'll notice it's slightly different, but not terribly different from the recorded version, which I hope you will all check out. Yes. And here we go. This is called You Can Call Me Darlin' If You Want. Don't put me on a pedestal. I'll jump off it. Don't compare me to your mama, 'cause I'm not. Please don't call me baby, 'cause I ain't nobody's baby. You can call me darling if you want. Don't say that I'm your sweetheart, I'll turn bitter. Don't go saying I'm your honey, 'cause I'll just sting you. Well, don't group me with those other girls, with their wedding dreams, their strings of pearls. Though you can call me darling if you need to. You can call me darling if that's really what you want. Just quit thinking about tomorrow till it comes. 'Cause I ain't gonna be nobody's one and only, no. You can call me darling if you want. Just never quite could tell the difference between a love and a friend. So I've often lost the two in the same night. It's how come I learned to separate this heart from all that mess? I'm not saying it's easy or it's right. But you can call me darling if that's really what you want. Just quit thinking about tomorrow till it comes. Let me love you just for now, the only way that I know how. Don't ever call me baby, 'cause I'm not. Don't go thinking you can change me, 'cause you'll never. I'll get around to someday on my own. But if you like to stick around, just don't expect so much for now. Yeah, you can call me darling if you want. You can call me darling if that's really what you want. We can worry about tomorrow when it comes. Let me love you here right now, the only way I know how. Hey, you can call me darling if you want. 'Cause it's nice to have a darling, don't I know? Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. That's the title track for the album that's coming out in September. So we definitely want everyone to check that out when the time arrives. And like I said, I'll link to all of your socials and website and how to buy the album and all that, as well as to the Art of Elysium website, so people can see how to touch base with that group as well. But Kelley, thank you so much for taking the time and singing and talking to us a little bit about what you've been up to and your background a little bit. We certainly appreciate it.
For sure. Oh yeah, of course. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Right. Well, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon, I hope.
All right. Adios,
Okay.
y'all.